What's up guys, this is Sumo from Zentaco's Discord channel. You might have seen me around the channel trying to help a few people out with their problems in Fusion. Taco has graciously allowed me to create a few videos for his channel to discuss the basics of the Lacewing object. So today I would like to go over the basics on how the extension works, and we'll cover how to create an online chat room. So in short, Lacewing is an extension that allows you to utilize online capabilities to communicate with other computers, essentially allowing you to create online games or applications. So I decided to create a quick diagram in InDesign showcasing the 5 main steps you go through while using the extension. You connect to the server, set your name, join a channel, update the peers, and then start sending and receiving your messages. So for step 1, connecting your server, there's 2 options you can go through. You can either use an online public server, or you can host your own server on your computer. If you use the online server, there's this website, Darkwire, that you can go to that has a list of servers that you could possibly use. Over here is a list of the servers. Now a bunch of these were created when Lacewing first came out, but most of these servers are now offline, unfortunately. These 2 servers, Darkwire Server 1 and Darkwire Server 2, are almost always online, so I'd recommend using either one of these servers. This is the address that you can use. You copy it and you paste it into Fusion, and it would connect you to the server. If you wanted to create your own server, you would use the Lacewing relay server object. Today though, I'm just going to be using one of the online public servers from Darkwire's website. So after you connect to the IP address, you would then set your name. The name cannot be the same as anyone else's on the channel that you're going to be in, so it should be something unique. After your name is set correctly and there's no problems, you would then join a channel. Now, channels are kind of like rooms full of people. You can only interact with the people within that room. You can join multiple channels, which are in multiple different rooms, and go between those channels and talk to people between each room, but you wouldn't be able to talk to somebody that's in a completely different room if you're not already joined to that room. So if you want to make a game, make sure your channel's name is very specific, so some other game's not going to accidentally join your channel if you're using a generic name. So once you join a channel and there's already people in there, you want to update your peer list. Let's say that there's like 3 other people in this channel and you just joined the channel. They know that you joined, but you still need to figure out who else is in that channel. So you start a peer loop to loop through each peer in the channel, and when you loop through each peer, you can gain the information from each one specifically. For example, we can create a player object for each peer in that channel, and once we loop through each peer, we can retrieve the name of that peer and insert it as an alterable string in that player object. Therefore, if we have multiple instances of this player object, we can specify which person we want to modify by specifying their name. So once we have all the new objects created in our game and set properly to each peer, we can then start sending and receiving the messages. Now, it's pretty simple really. Lacewing just offers you a method to send information to each other, and it's just sending and receiving messages. You can send and receive messages 2 ways, by either blasting the message or sending the message. Blasting the message will send the message faster to the peer. However, it's a little less reliable. Maybe some packets of information will be lost. Meanwhile, sending the message is a lot more reliable, but it's a bit slower. But it should get to the person for sure. So, the kind of information data that you want to send to other people in the channel would be like your position, your current animation, your angle, if it's like a top-down game you're using 360 degrees, other data like your inventory information, stuff like that. So once you send a message, you can send it to either the entire server, the entire channel, or a specific peer. Most often we send it to the channel because that's going to be your game channel, so anyone else in there probably wants to receive your message. You would send it to the entire server if you have a custom server that you made yourself. I wouldn't really send the message to a public server. I don't even know if that's possible, but I wouldn't advise it. If you send the message to a specific peer, only that peer would receive that message. So it's nice when you want to like whisper a message in a chat room to somebody, but you don't want that message to go out to everyone else in that lobby. So when you receive the messages, you can act accordingly and change your game to match their game. So let's say I sent out my coordinates, my X position, Y position to everyone in the channel, and now the peers just received a message from me. They can read those values and then update my character positions accordingly so that both positions will match on both people's screens. So overall, that's the basic 5 steps that I usually go through when trying to create a game in Lacewing. I'll put a link in the description for this file if you want to download it so you can reference it later on when you're creating your games. So for now, let's exit out of this and go into Fusion. Alright, on to Fusion. So first things first, we should add a few objects into the frame. If you don't have the Lacewing objects, you can click this manager button and search Lacewing. These 3 Lacewing objects is what you want to install. For the most part, we're going to be using the Lacewing Relay client. I also briefly talked about the Lacewing Relay server. That's how you can create your own server. But for now, we're going to be using one of the public servers. So you can just enter this in. And since we're going to be creating a chat room, let's add a few edit boxes and a list object. The list object will show all the people in the lobby, and then the edit boxes will show what you can send and all the messages on the chat room. So I'm going to make this one a multi-line box, so it can show more than one line, and this one is fine as it is. I'm just gonna probably uncheck these all. I don't like how they 3D look really. That's all personal preference. We can also add a button too, so you can have that option when you send the message. B for button, there you go. I'm gonna give it a second here and probably just rearrange the items around to make it look better. Okay guys, I'm back. So I rearranged all the objects on the frame. I also renamed them all too, like list of players, chat box, message, button. I also added a string object called info string in the top left. If you want to add a string here, you can. It just helps you figure out where you are in the process of connecting to like the server or the channel, the name. You can put your information here and it'll tell you. So it's pretty useful. Let's also actually create another frame in our game. Let's name this one chat room. And this frame will let us set our name. So let's move this one above our chat room. So this is the first frame we should encounter. It's gonna be super simple, nothing too bad. All you really need is like an edit box and a button. Not even a button, you can just press like a key on the keyboard to go to the next frame. But this edit box will just let you type in your own name. I'll set this up in a second to make it look a little bit better than just a one edit box on a frame. Okay, so I just added a few strings to make it look a bit nicer so you understand what you're actually entering in here. Let's actually add the Lacewing object here as well. If you go into the settings and check this global box, your Lacewing object will actually maintain its settings between your frames. So if we go back to our chat room and check this one, you can see it's also global. So if we connect to a server or a channel on this frame, it'll keep that information between frames, so we don't have to reconnect, so which is pretty useful. So let's get to the coding. I'm going to be using the event list editor. I know Taco likes to use the event editor, but I think the checkboxes can be kind of confusing, especially when you're trying to follow along. So I'll be using the event list editor because it lists all the events and conditions out in a row. So start a frame. Let's actually disable our edit box and our button. So control enabled off, and for the button, let's disable this. We don't want them to be able to type or enter in before we connect to the server first. So also on the starter frame, let's start connecting to our server. I'm going to be using one of the servers from Darkwire's website. You could use either of them that are online. You could also use your own IP address if you're hosting your own server on your computer. So start a frame, deactivate all this stuff, and then connect to the server. Now what's nice about the Lacewing object is that there's a bunch of conditions that can test to see if you successfully done something correctly. So for example, if you connected successfully to the server, if you set your name correctly, if the channel you're able to join successfully. So for this, we're going to be doing on connect. So we connected successfully to the server. We can now enable both the button and the edit box. So let's re-enable these. And that means we can now set our name. So in order to make sure that our name is not nothing, let's do a compare to general values under the special gear object. And let's get the text of the edit box and make sure it does not equal, it's different than 2 quotes. 2 quotes is basically nothing, there's nothing in between them. So as long as our edit box is not nothing and we press the join button, it should set our name. Set name, and the name we want is the text from the edit box. You can also add an OR filter in here and copy this event, throw it down here, and insert a key press for the enter key. So if you either press the button and this text does not equal nothing, or if you press the enter key and the text does not equal nothing, it'll do the same thing. It will set the name to your text. So let's compare to see if our name was set successfully. On name set, we will join our channel. Channel join. Now, as I said before, you want this channel to be very specific named, so we don't have any other games randomly connecting to our game. So Sumo, Lacewing, chat. You can press enter for both of these. It's asking if you want to like automatically close the channel, if you want it to be hidden, but 0 is fine for both. So finally, we need to add one more action under the name set condition. We just need to jump to the next frame and make sure this action is below the join channel action. So now that should be everything for this frame, and we can jump to the chat room. So let's add a few groups. It's always good to maintain organization in your code. Joining, jogging, joining the channel. So channel on join, we just joined the channel. We should do step 4 in the process I was talking about earlier, which is to loop the peers in the channel. So channel peers loop. And what looping the peers in the channel does is that it goes through each peer one by one, and we can receive the information from them. So let's get a condition channel peers on peer loop. So when it's looping through the channels, we want to add the name of the peer for each person. So let's add a line in our list object. The list object shows every person in our chat room. And we want to get the selected channel, the selected peer's name. So now it will record the peer's name for every person in that channel. Let's add a new condition that tests when a new peer joins the channel. And we can just copy this over since it's the same thing. If we're already in the channel and a new peer joins, we can just easily add their name to the list. But if we join the channel and there's already peers there before us, that's why we have to loop the peers to get each one of their names. So let's add to test when a peer disconnects now. So channel peers on peer disconnect. And now we should remove their name from the list. So go to list object and delete a line. If you go to the list object here, there's an expression called find string exact. It will find the name of the player. So we can just go down to selected channel, selected peer, name. So it will find the peer's name. And for flag, this just shows which line it should start on for the search. If you put -1, that means it will search the entire list. So on peer disconnect, the list object will find the exact peer's name in that list object and will delete that line in that list. Let's actually add a few extra actions to these already existing conditions, because we want to have like a message appear in the chat box when somebody joins or leaves the chat room. So let's do that. So under the on-channel join condition, we'll add a new action to insert a line into the chat box. So editing, set text. And since there's no text already in that chat box, we don't have to worry about overwriting it. So we can put any message we want. For this, I'll go down to Lacewing self name plus, between quotes, put a space, has joined the channel. So like Sumo has joined the channel, it'll add our name and it'll loop the peers. Cool. So let's actually copy this and throw it in the peer connect line, since it's going to be very similar. And instead of our name, we want to just take the peer's name. So the peer's name is under selected channel, selected peer, name. So that peer has joined the channel. And for this, actually, since we don't want to overwrite all the text that was previously in that chat box, we need to include that in the beginning before this part. So let's go down to our chat box and under here, get text, add a plus. We're going to add the new line expression that's under the special gear icon under string submenu, new line, and add another plus. Let's copy this line one last time and throw it under our disconnect line. And instead of joined, we'll just change it to leave or left the channel. And since we added this waiting to connect, like info string on the top left corner of our frame, we can actually use that and change it when we join the channel to confirm that we joined successfully. So let's do that. Under the on-channel join condition, we'll add an action to change the string. And we'll just say like connection successful. Let's save that. And that should be good for the join the channel section. Well, let's test it this time. Welcome to Lacewing chat room. If you notice the edit box and the button enabled, that means we joined the server successfully. I'll throw my name, I'll press enter, and there you go. The string switched over pretty quickly because it was almost instantaneously to connection successful. My name showed up in the list of the players, and then the message says I have joined the channel. Cool. That group should be good for now. With finished joining the channel, we can create a new group called sending and receiving messages. And this is where we start actually like sending messages. This would be step 5 in the process that I was talking about at the beginning of this video. So let's do a quick comparison with the compared to general values. Just like before on the set name frame, we want to make sure that the edit box isn't empty, so the person doesn't spam nothing. So let's get the text from the message box and make sure it does not equal the 2 quotes. And just like edit box in the set name frame, we'll just compare for the button click, and we can also do the same thing with the logic filter or filter and compare for a key press such as enter. So insert keyword upon pressing key and press enter. Cool. So when we actually have text in our box and we press enter or the button, we want to update the chat box with our message. So let's do that. This time we want to make sure we retrieve the text from the chat box so we don't accidentally remove it. Add the new line expression again. This time we're going to insert our new message. So we want to retrieve our name, self name, and then we'll add like a colon, so plus colon space. You got to add that in between quotes so it works, and then add another plus, and then we can send our message. So message get text gets the previous text, makes it a new line, adds our own name, puts the colon, and then puts our text message. Alright, and finally, for actually sending messages to other people in the server, let's go send that message. So as I said before, you can send messages or you can blast them. Sending is a bit more reliable, but it's a bit slower. Blasting is quicker, but it's a little less reliable. For both of these, you can send either text, numbers, or binary. Since this is a message, a text message, we'll do text, and we want to send it to everyone in our channel. Now, subchannels help differentiate which message you're sending. So let's say for subchannel 0, I'm sending a chat message. For subchannel 1, it could be positions. For subchannel 2, it could be angles. So that's how you figure out which kind of message you're trying to send. So we'll just stick with the first one, which is 0. And here's our text that we want to send, which is the text from our edit box. So let's get that text. So I'll set the text, and then it will send that text. We also want to erase the text after we send the message. So let's do that. Editing, set text, okay. And make sure this action right here is the last thing that happens in this order, because we don't want this to be above the message that we send out, or else we'll be sending nothing out. Cool. Let's compare to see when people receive the message now. So message sent. It was a text message to the channel. There's a whole bunch of different options here. There's text, number, binary, any. So there's 4 options for each one, and then there's server, channel, or peer. So we did a text message from the channel. And if you remember before, our subchannel was 0, so that's how we can compare. So when we receive a text message from the channel on subchannel 0, that means somebody sent a message. So let's update our text box now. We can copy this down over since it's pretty similar already. So that stays the same, that stays the same. We change our name to the person who sent the message. So the selected channel, the selected peer's name. That's fine. And then instead of the message edit text box, we gotta insert the message we just received. So received, get text. Let's save it and test the build and see how and see if it's working correctly so far. Maybe there might be a few bugs, you never know. Remember, you have to open 2 windows to see the effects of multiple people. So for the first one, I'll just put my name, and I'll just put like Zentaco or something. Look at that. So the names are updated correctly. Both people got both names, even though I joined in first. So that means when Taco joined in, I was able to add his name. When Taco joined in, he looped through the peers, which was just me, and he added my name, so they're all both set correctly. The message appeared when I joined the channel, and then you can see when Taco joined the channel, a message also appeared. So let me just try to send a message like, hey Taco, what's up? It adds the new line, and over here you can see it successfully added the line on Taco's client. And then Taco's like, oh, nothing much, man. And then, see, you send the message and it showed up on my screen. Now, if we can test to see if the message appears and if the line gets deleted if somebody leaves, so let's do that. Zentaco has left the channel, and then his name got removed. Cool. So that's the basics of a Lacewing chat room. It really wasn't that complicated yet. As far as basics go, chat room's probably the easiest to understand because the messages that you're sending are actual literally messages in the chat room. If it's like a game, you literally do the same thing. You send messages to everyone else in the server about your data that has to be updated. It's like, instead of like, this was a message I want to send, this could be like coordinates, and then people would receive the coordinates by checking that and then updating people. But I'll do positions and angles of different players in another video. So I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. I'll have a download to the link for this example in the description. Let me know what other kind of Lacewing videos you want to see in the future. Planning to also create an online lobby system where people can create their own games and other people could join to them. So you can have a whole host of different games in a game lobby. Once again, thank you Taco for letting me post my video on your page, and I hope everyone enjoyed this video. Thanks.